When the darkness awakens, there are places on Earth where, with the fall of night, the world no longer belongs to the living, where the darkness does not merely thicken, but watches. Deep in the heart of the Appalachians lie roads where you should never walk alone. In these mountains, there are ancient curses and forgotten oaths, beings with nothing left to lose, and voices that call from the shadows. Here, people disappear without a trace, and those who return are no longer who they were. On the trails, something hunts, luring travelers with false paths and voices of loved ones. In the underground tunnels, the dead continue to work, their pickaxe strikes echoing in the void, as if to remind you, this land took them, but will never let them go. Here, witches burn, but do not die. Here, the old lock their doors before sunset, but no one speaks of what they fear. Here, there are roads you cannot turn back from, only forward, to a place where time fractures, and your reflection looks back at you with someone else's eyes. You may not believe, you may laugh at the rumors, but if one day you find yourself in these places, if you feel the weight of someone's gaze, if the night forest calls you by name, do not answer, and for the sake of everything sacred, do not look back. We've gathered the most chilling and infamous legends of the Appalachian Mountains, tales so terrifying they will send a chill down your spine. Prepare yourself for the kind of stories that haunt the darkest corners of these ancient woods. The Legend of the Brown Mountain. Ghost Lights. The legend of the Brown Mountain Lights is one of the most famous and enduring Appalachian mysteries. These ghostly lights have been reported for centuries, appearing above Brown Mountain in North Carolina, particularly on dark, misty nights. Origins and early sightings. The earliest known accounts come from Cherokee and Catawba Native Americans, who believed the lights were the spirits of fallen warriors, still roaming the mountains after great battles. Later, in the 18th and 19th centuries, European settlers and Civil War soldiers reported seeing the lights, fueling more ghostly speculation. Mysterious phenomenon. The Brown Mountain Lights appear as floating orbs of light, sometimes white, yellow, red, or blue. They flicker, dart, rise, and fall, often disappearing as suddenly as they appear. Witnesses describe them as disembodied lanterns, will-o'-the-wisps, or supernatural apparitions. Popular theories. There are many theories about what causes the lights, but no definitive answer. 1. Ghosts of the lost. One legend claims the lights are the lanterns of ghosts searching for missing loved ones. Some stories say it's a woman searching for her lost husband, while others speak of a slave searching for his master after a great flood. 2. Spirits of native warriors. Local tribes believed that the spirits of warriors who died in battle still haunt the mountains, manifesting as glowing orbs. 3. Underground gas or plasma. Some scientists suggest that natural gases from underground could ignite when exposed to air, creating the eerie lights. 4. Reflections of car or train lights. Skeptics believe the lights may be distant reflections from vehicle headlights or train signals, though reports of the lights predate cars by centuries. 5. Alien activity or portals. More modern theories suggest the lights could be UFOs or evidence of interdimensional activity. Eyewitness accounts. One of the most famous sightings occurred in 1913 when a U.S. Geological Survey worker named D.B. Stewart investigated the lights. Though he claimed they were simply train headlights, later reports contradicted his findings as the lights continued to appear even when no trains were running. In 1922, the U.S. government conducted another study, but found no conclusive explanation. Cultural impact. The Brown Mountain Lights have inspired numerous ghost stories, songs, and even television episodes. They were featured in an episode of The X-Files and the 2014 horror film Alien Abduction. Despite decades of investigation, the mystery remains unsolved, attracting paranormal enthusiasts, scientists, and thrill seekers to the area. The Owl Man of Appalachia. The legend of the Owl Man of Appalachia is a chilling tale that has haunted the mountains of West Virginia and Kentucky for over a century. Described as a tall, humanoid figure with large, leathery wings and glowing red eyes, This mysterious creature has been sighted in remote forests, abandoned coal towns, and along lonely mountain roads. Origins and early sightings. Stories of the owlman date back to the early 20th century, when coal miners and farmers began reporting encounters with a terrifying winged entity. Some believe the legend originated from Cherokee folklore, which speaks of giant owls that served as omens of death and misfortune. The first recorded sighting occurred in 1923, when a group of miners in Logan County, West Virginia, claimed to have seen a large owl-like creature with a human face perched on a ridge. When they approached, the creature let out a piercing screech and took flight into the darkness. Many of those miners refused to return to work that night, convinced they had seen a supernatural being. Mysterious encounters. Reports of the owlman increased throughout the 1940s and 1950s, often following a similar pattern. A large winged figure spotted in the woods or near an isolated road. Red or glowing eyes that seemed to hypnotize those who saw them. An eerie screeching or hooting sound heard before the creature appeared. Sudden disappearances of livestock or small pets after sightings. One of the most terrifying encounters occurred in 1952 when a teenage boy in Mingo County, West Virginia, claimed that the owlman chased him through the woods while he was returning home from a fishing trip. He described it as half man, half owl, with long claws and wings that spanned the width of the road. Popular theories. There are many interpretations of what the owlman might be. 1. A supernatural harbinger. Some locals believe the owlman is a spirit that appears before tragic events, similar to the Mothman of Point Pleasant. Sightings have allegedly preceded mining disasters and fatal accidents. 2. A lost cryptid. Some cryptozoologists speculate that the owlman could be a giant, undiscovered species of owl, or even a distant relative of prehistoric birds. 3. An alien entity. Given the owlman's glowing eyes and ability to disappear, some UFO theorists suggest that it is an extraterrestrial visitor or an interdimensional being. 4. A psychological manifestation. Skeptics argue that the owlman is a product of mass hysteria, sleep paralysis, or misidentified large birds, such as the great horned owl. Eyewitness accounts. One of the most famous modern reports came in 2004, when a couple driving through the Appalachian Mountains at night claimed to see a tall, winged creature standing in the middle of the road. When they stopped the car, the figure spread its massive wings and vanished into the treetops. The driver later described a feeling of overwhelming dread, as if they had been marked by something unnatural. Cultural impact. The Owlman of Appalachia has inspired local ghost stories, urban legends, and even modern horror fiction. Some cryptid hunters and paranormal investigators visit the region, hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive creature. Though no definitive proof has ever been found, the legend continues to grow, and many Appalachians still believe that when you hear an owl's cry in the dead of night, the Owlman may be watching. The curse of Livesey's Hollow. Deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, there is a valley that few dare to enter. Known as Livesey's Hollow, this secluded area is said to be cursed, a place where settlements fail, travelers vanish, and strange whispers echo through the trees. Origins and early accounts. The origins of the curse date back to the late 1700s, when European settlers first attempted to claim the land. According to legend, a group of pioneers built a small village in the hollow, unaware that the land had long been sacred to the Cherokee people. Tribal elders warned the settlers to leave, telling them that the valley was a resting place for spirits and that disturbing it would bring doom. The settlers refused to listen. Not long after, misfortune struck. A mysterious illness swept through the village, crops withered overnight, and strange figures were seen moving in the fog at dusk. The few survivors abandoned the settlement, claiming they had heard unseen voices whispering warnings in the wind. Mysterious phenomena. Over the centuries, those who ventured into Livesey's Hollow have reported a range of terrifying experiences. Whispers in the trees. Many travelers claim to hear faint voices calling their names, even when they are alone. Vanishing settlements. Several attempts to build in the valley have failed. In some cases, entire cabins have been found deserted, with meals still on the table as if the occupants had left in a hurry. Disappearing travelers. There are stories of hunters and hikers entering the hollow and never returning. Search parties have found footprints leading into the woods, but never coming out. Shadow figures. Some claim to have seen dark, humanoid shapes standing just at the edge of their vision, watching. One of the most famous accounts comes from a Civil War soldier in 1863 who wrote in his journal about a night spent in the hollow. He described hearing soft singing in a language he did not recognize and seeing a group of figures in old clothing walking through the mist. When he tried to call out to them, they vanished like smoke. Popular theories. There are many explanations for the mystery of Livesey's Hollow, but none that fully explain its eerie reputation. 1. A Cherokee curse. Some believe the valley is cursed by a powerful shaman, punishing those who disturb the land. 2. A dimensional rift. Others suggest that Livesey's Hollow is a place where the veil between worlds is thin, allowing spirits, or even people, to slip between realities. 3. Toxic gases or hallucinations. Some scientists propose that natural gases from underground may cause hallucinations, leading people to see and hear things that aren't really there. 4. A mass psychological effect. Skeptics argue that the valley's reputation alone may cause people to experience fear-induced hallucinations. Eyewitness accounts. One chilling modern account came from a hiker in 1998 who claimed that while camping in the hollow, he saw an old wooden house with a candle burning in the window. Curious, he approached, only for the house to vanish before his eyes. When he later asked locals about it, they told him no house had stood in that spot for over a century. Cultural impact. Livesey's Hollow has become one of the most feared places in the Appalachian region, with many locals refusing to speak of it after dark. Some paranormal investigators have tried to document the area, but camera batteries die, compasses spin wildly, and electronic devices malfunction whenever they get too close. Despite, or perhaps because of, its terrifying reputation, Livesey's Hollow continues to draw the curious, the brave, and the foolish. But those who enter should listen closely to the whispers in the wind, because they might be the last thing they ever hear. The Lost Travelers of the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail is one of the most famous hiking routes in the world, stretching over 2,000 miles through the mountains. But along its winding paths and dense forests, there are whispers of something strange, something unnatural. Hikers who step off the trail and are never seen again. Some believe they are simply lost. Others claim they have stumbled into a place outside of time, where reality itself unravels. Origins and early accounts. Stories of vanishing travelers date back centuries, long before the Appalachian Trail was established. Native American legends spoke of the spaces in between, places where people could walk into the forest and never return to the world they knew. The first modern case that fueled the legend happened in 1937, when a man named James Red Stanton set off alone on the trail near Roan Mountain, Tennessee. He never reached his destination. Search parties found his campsite undisturbed, his backpack untouched, but there was no sign of him. The only clue, his journal left behind in his tent. His final entry read, "I saw them again last night, just beyond the trees. They don't want me to leave." Mysterious phenomena. Over the years, hikers have reported bizarre experiences along certain sections of the trail. Strange figures in the woods. Some travelers claim to see people dressed in old-fashioned clothing walking through the trees. But when they follow, the figures vanish. Lost time. Others report hiking for what feels like minutes, only to realize that hours or even days have passed. Voices calling from the forest. Many say they hear whispers or familiar voices coming from deep in the woods, luring them off the path that doesn't exist. A few survivors tell of taking what seemed like a side trail, only to find themselves completely lost, with no record of that trail ever existing. One of the most chilling cases happened in 1971, when a young woman named Emily Radcliffe went missing near the Great Smoky Mountains. Her friends reported that she walked just a few feet ahead on the trail, turned a corner, and was gone. They searched for hours, but there was no sign of her. She was found 5 days later, barefoot and dazed, 40 miles from where she had disappeared. When asked what happened, all she could say was, "I kept walking, but the trail was different. The trees moved when I wasn't looking. The sun never set." Popular theories. 1. A rift in time. Some believe that parts of the Appalachian Trail cross into a different time or dimension, causing people to slip through reality. 2. The Watchers of the Forest. Local folklore speaks of ancient beings that guard the mountains, sometimes choosing to take travelers who wander too far. 3. Hallucinations from natural causes. Some scientists suggest that pockets of natural gases or electromagnetic fields could cause hallucinations and disorientation. 4. Something that hunts. More superstitious hikers whisper about a force in the mountains, something that mimics voices, creates false trails, and lures people to their doom. Eyewitness accounts. In 2009, an experienced hiker named Daniel Whitaker disappeared near the Shenandoah section of the trail. Search teams found his footprints leading off the trail, continuing straight into thick, untouched brush where no trail existed. 3 years later, his backpack was discovered miles away, perfectly preserved, with his water and food still inside. His camera was intact, but the memory card was corrupted, except for one image, a blurry, shadowy figure standing just beyond the trees. Cultural impact. To this day, certain stretches of the Appalachian Trail are avoided by superstitious hikers. Some refuse to hike alone. Others leave small offerings of food or trinkets at certain landmarks, hoping to appease whatever watches from the woods. And if you ever find yourself walking the Appalachian Trail, stay on the path. If you hear your name being called from the trees, do not follow, because some who step off the trail never step back. The ghosts of the Blue Ridge Tunnel. Deep beneath the Blue Ridge Mountains lies a tunnel that time has tried to forget. Built in the mid-1800s, the Blue Ridge Tunnel was meant to be an engineering marvel, a passage through solid rock that would connect the Shenandoah Valley to the outside world. But the project was cursed from the start. Origins and early accounts. The tunnel was carved by Irish immigrants and formerly enslaved laborers forced to work in brutal conditions. Many never made it out. Cave-ins, gas leaks, and unexplained accidents turned the tunnel into a mass grave. Workers spoke of shadowy figures moving in the dark, whispers in languages no one recognized, and tools vanishing only to reappear in strange places. Some claimed the mountain did not want to be cut open, and that something inside was trying to keep them out. Mysterious phenomena. For nearly 2 centuries, travelers and explorers have reported strange occurrences in the tunnel. Disembodied voices echoing in the dark, speaking in lost tongues. Footsteps following visitors, though no one is there. Cold spots so intense that breath turns to mist, even in the heat of summer. Flickering lanterns and flashlight beams failing inside the tunnel. One chilling account from 1943 describes a group of railway workers hearing a rhythmic hammering deep inside the sealed-off section of the tunnel. When they called out, the sound stopped. A moment later, a single rusted pickaxe slid from the shadows, as if something had answered. Popular theories. The restless dead. Many believe the spirits of those who died in the tunnel still wander, seeking justice or revenge. A gateway to something else. Some paranormal researchers claim that the tunnel is a thin place, a portal between worlds where time and reality distort. An echo of the past. Others suggest that the tunnel, made of dense rock, somehow records and replays moments of suffering like a ghostly tape recorder. Mass hysteria or environmental effects. Skeptics argue that low oxygen levels, echoes, and natural gases could cause hallucinations or unease. Eyewitness accounts. In 2011, a photographer entered the tunnel alone at night, hoping to capture its eerie beauty. He later discovered that one of his photos, taken in total darkness, contained a faint, translucent figure standing at the far end of the tunnel, staring back at him. Cultural impact. The Blue Ridge Tunnel has become a legendary haunted site, drawing ghost hunters, historians, and thrill seekers. Locals say that if you enter alone, you should never speak your name aloud, because if the tunnel calls it back, you may never leave. The Witch of Ram's Hollow. There's a valley hidden deep in the Appalachian wilderness where no birds sing and no animals stir after dark. Locals call it Ram's Hollow, a place avoided for generations, a place where something unnatural waits. They say it was once home to a woman who knew too much, a woman who spoke to things that should not be named, a woman they burned to keep the darkness from spreading. But fire doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it awakens. Origins and early accounts. In the early 1800s, a woman known only as Margaret Ramsay lived on the edge of the hollow. She was a healer, a midwife, and some whispered, a witch. Her neighbors feared her, but they came to her when their children fell ill or when their livestock sickened overnight. Some claimed she could call the rain, make a man tell the truth against his will, or curse a family with just a whisper. Then the disappearances began. First, it was a young boy, last seen walking toward her cabin. Then a hunter, his tracks leading straight to her door before vanishing. The townsfolk decided they had waited long enough. On October 31st, 1823, they dragged Margaret Ramsay from her home, tied her to a pyre, and set her alight. As the flames consumed her, she screamed a curse so terrible that even the sky darkened. Her last words were lost to the wind, but Ram's Hollow has never been the same since. Mysterious phenomena. The land where her house once stood is now nothing but a charred clearing. No plants grow there, no animals cross it, and those who enter after dark experience things they cannot explain. Whispers on the wind, soft at first, then growing into frenzied chanting. Shadowy figures moving between the trees, glimpsed only in the corner of the eye. An unbearable sense of being watched, as if something is just behind you, waiting. The smell of smoke, thick and choking, appearing suddenly, though no fire burns. One of the most disturbing accounts comes from a man in 1956 who dared to camp in the hollow overnight. He awoke to a woman's voice whispering his name, though he was alone. His lantern flickered, revealing handprints burned into the trees around him. He ran. He never spoke of it again. Popular theories won, a witch's revenge. Many believe that Margaret Ramsay never truly died. Some claim her spirit wanders the hollow, waiting for the chance to finish her curse. 2. Something older than her. Others say Margaret was only a vessel, that she did not summon the darkness but only served it, and when she burned, it was released. 3. A rift in reality. Some paranormal researchers claim that Ram's Hollow is a fracture, a place where the veil between worlds is thin. 4. Psychological terror. Skeptics argue that the hollow's reputation alone can make visitors experience hallucinations and paranoia. Eyewitness accounts. In 2014, a group of urban explorers visited Ram's Hollow at night. They brought a voice recorder hoping to capture EVP, electronic voice phenomena. When they played it back, they heard a woman's voice beneath the static. She was laughing. Cultural impact. To this day, locals refuse to enter Ram's Hollow after dark. Those who do never go alone. And if you hear a woman's voice in the trees, do not answer, because if you do, she might just follow you home. As the night falls over the Appalachians, these eerie legends continue to linger in the shadows, waiting for those brave enough to listen. Did you enjoy the story? Which legend would you like us to dive deeper into in the next video? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chilling tale.